what's going on? Welcome to Move Fast, Lift Heavy podcast. This is Joe Roscoe, co-host of MFLH Pod. Thanks again for tuning in. If you're coming back to listen, if you haven't subscribed or rated or commented on the podcast, that'd be greatly appreciated to help us spread the word about what we got going on here. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing. We'll love you all to subscribe, leave some comments below. If you want to see us talking about different subjects or bring on different guests that you might want on the pod. So if you haven't tried our online training program yet, Move Fast, Lift Heavy, you can do so by going to the website, movefastliftheavy.com. Everyone that signs up gets themselves a free t-shirt. So you can check that out, movefastliftheavy.com. Follow us on the gram at movefastliftheavy. All right, let's bring on co-host, founder of Move Fast, Lift Heavy, Christian Harris.
Listen, someone's real excited about their new microphone they just got.
You know, I'm a big Pat McAfee fan, and I watch his 3.5 or it seems like 8-hour live stream on YouTube every day, catch up on NFL. And those guys are some jokers over there. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
I just love it. They make my day. And there's a little bit of Patrick McAfee that comes out in me now. Like I like when he intros his guests, like, oh, it's epic. It's epic. So, you know, I tried to give you that same respect, you know, being Christian Harris, the man, the myth, the legend.
I appreciate it. It's flattering.
Yeah. I mean, you know. Like your beanie cap over there, is that an old school MFLH beanie or is that coming up?
This one is coming up as part of the Wendler collection. Couple weeks. All right.
531. Got five of this, 3 of that, and one of something. I learned that last week's or 2 weeks ago. When did we do that episode? Last week or 2 weeks ago?
Last week.
Last week's episode about how you kind of get into the workshop and create your artistry. So 531 Wendler drop coming soon, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, what else is up? You're running 25 miles a day. You got something coming up you're training for?
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of running, trying to get these legs conditioned for the Spartan Games. I'm going to be participating in that in 2 weeks. So I know there's going to be some sort of half marathonish distance run, and that is way past my threshold of what I've ever run before. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of mileage on the legs before I head out there.
All right, nice. And all of us following along with Train with CH are suffering along with you if we so choose to do so.
I threw in some notes in there for the next couple of weeks. You know, it's optional, the distance that we're putting in. So
I appreciate you giving us the ability to escape if we wanted to, or maybe do things at half capacity as opposed to the whole thing. But I just did my cardio party today, which was 5 rounds work rest of a 400-meter run. Then you moved on to 5 rounds of the 30 cal ski, moved on to 5 rounds of the 30 cal row, and 5 rounds of the Concept 2 bike erg. And it was open gym, and all the machines were like spread out everywhere. And I was just christening the entire gym with my sweat just everywhere. And the owner of the gym, I could tell, was looking at me super tight, like, because I wasn't wiping down anything after I was done, because I was moving on to like the next section. And he was like,
I'll get to it.
He was looking at me like, you're gonna wipe that down, right? Like, because I sweat, like I'm rowing, and there's like a puddle in my in my shorts when I'm rowing.
The ski drip is pretty funny.
When
your arms kind of fling back.
Right, and you got that like that
trail.
Spray, that spray effect behind you. I'm interested to chat with our guests coming on, and you as well, because when I was going through that, I was like, you know, this is great for our crew, our clients, to talk about like intention when working out, because like a workout like that's somewhere around an hour and 10 to an hour and 20 minutes. you can kind of just like check the boxes and hit the numbers, So my goal going into it was round 1 was always going to be sub 2 minutes. And then rounds 2 through 5, it was my goal to make sure that each round was getting faster. And, that really helped me out just to make sure that if my mind was wandering, it like brought me back into check.
Yeah, it keeps you mentally engaged.
Yeah. With these long runs you've been doing, I know for me, probably a lot of us, when you run long distance, it's easy for the mind to wander and check out. Have you made sure that you've been trying to hit some markers along the way to keep you going, or how have you approached your running training?
So these past couple runs that I've done, I did a 6 and an 8-mile run today. I really just went based off of feel, but I used my heart rate to keep me in check. So I wanted to basically maintain that zone 2 heart rate as I was doing these runs. So if I was moving a little bit too slow, I'd need to pick it up. And if I was moving too fast, it gives me that feedback to kind of, all right, slow it down a little bit, stay within your zone.
Yeah.
The being too low never happened. So
Okay, I got you. All right. Well, everyone that's listening, that's following along on our program, make sure you're always training with intention. And if you're not on the program, once again, check us out, movefastliftheavy.com. Speaking of getting ready for competitions, there's a competition going on right now that our guest has actually headed up. He's kind of trailblazing right now with some new ideas, new concepts as far as this competition goes. So, Christian, why don't you bring on our guest? And excited to chat with him.
Yeah, so our next guest, I had the pleasure of meeting out in Madison during the CrossFit Games, and he was telling me about this concept called the Zelos Games, and how I wanted to introduce something that would help to bring an extra revenue share extra stream of revenue for some of the more competitive athletes in the sport. Um, you know, outside of the CrossFit Games or outside of these in-person type competitions. So I'd like to bring on our next guest. His name is Jared Graybeal, and he's the founder of the Zelos Games.
Jared,
how are y'all?
what's up?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here. This is a fun conversation already, and I've just been listening.
Yeah, sorry I went on that little tangent there, but
I was just watching the show.
Just rolling with it. Yeah, just rolling with it. Well, good to have you. Joseph Rojas is a huge fan of yours. He's commenting in from YouTube here. Your self-help journal is part of my everyday routine.
That's awesome.
So there you go. Boom. Thanks for that comment. Appreciate it.
That's sick.
Let's yeah. You're a Renaissance guy. You got your hand in a few different things. But let's just start out with the Zelos Games and get into kind of like the creation of it and what Christian was kind of touching on as he introed you.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like you mentioned, Renaissance man, somewhat of an entrepreneur. I used to own a healthy meal prep company based out of Northeast Florida, shipped nationwide, did all the things there, ran that company for like 6 years, sold it in March of this year, which was a great thing for me and great for the company that acquired us or them. And I decided to go on a road trip across the country to kind of figure out next steps for me. I'm not super traveled, so I wanted to take like somewhat of a sabbatical. And along the way, although I didn't really want to start another company, if you've ever started and sold a company, it's kind of like, oh, I can breathe again. What, do I want to suffocate myself with the journey of entrepreneurship again? Which is great, but you know what I mean. And so I was really opposed to starting another company, but I decided if I did, it would fit like a particular criteria. Most importantly, it would be fun for me to build. It would be in the fitness industry, and it would solve a problem because, at the end of the day, I don't want to start another thing that somebody else is already doing really well. I want to, try to solve a unique problem that maybe isn't being solved in such a way. And I was walking around the casino in Vegas, like just had this abstract thought about starting an online series of CrossFit competitions or fitness competitions with cash prizes. And the reason for that is because I was thinking about, there was a lot of media exposure over the past 2 years around the challenge financially of competing in the sport of CrossFit, but at the CrossFit Games in particular, right? Like if you get 21st or lower or higher, however you want to look at that, any 21st to 40th, you might not walk away with any money. And if you do, you still might not break even for that year based on travel and hotels and food and all the things, right? And of course, we know CrossFit's a passion for a lot of these athletes, but I think based off the work that these athletes are putting in, there should be more opportunity for them. And I just thought that was a problem that this unique approach might be able to, I don't want to say solve because it's a big, it's a big thing, but help solve, I guess, is a better way.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that's something that maybe a lot of people from the outside in, maybe it's just like your typical gym member or somebody that's a little familiar with CrossFit, they might think that just because you made the CrossFit Games, like, oh, you've got money or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something to bring to the table as far as, being able to help out the athletes. So I think it's great.
Yeah. And I, like from the HQ perspective, I admire Eric Rosa. I mean, he's a Stanford MBA. Like that's like, I nerd out on that kind of stuff, but him taking over CrossFit, I didn't even expect or imagine that like games pay would be his first priority. I mean, from a business perspective, like the 15,000 affiliates are a big enough start. You know what I mean? And so I thought, well, if I was going to build a unique approach to this, what would it look like? And I thought it would be online because that way it's an equal opportunity for everyone internationally. We get to see some maybe some new names in the sport, or at least some names that we're familiar with that just don't get as much media exposure. And I think in a way, it evens the playing field if the athletes decide to do it because, Christian, for example, you're an entrepreneur and you're an elite level athlete. I would argue to say that if you didn't make an income from competing, you would be fine financially because you clearly know how to run a gym and build a brand. But a lot of athletes don't have that gift. They're just, let's say just as if it's a bad thing, they're just gifted athletically. But they don't know how to build themselves up on social media. And so these athletes, although they might be some of the best in the world, haven't, cracked the code of Instagram popularity or running a good gym or building a good brand. And so they struggle financially, and we may never even find out about these people. And like, we might not even know about some of the most gifted athletes in the world because it's financially challenging to keep playing this sport 4 to 6 hours a day, year after year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the other unique thing about the Zelos Games is that because it's online, there's no travel costs, so
Yeah.
that's always a benefit as well. It's a plus.
That's
So, go ahead.
All you.
You just started on Monday with the first week of this, and I just wanted to let the listeners know that might not be participating this year, just how it's laid out, how many weeks is it? How is it different or alike competitions they're familiar with? Give us a little bit of background on that so that people can obviously follow you. I'll put your Insta up here, but also just get ready for maybe for next year if they missed out this year on competing.
Yeah. So, when I began to build the idea or the framework for the Zelos Games, I really had this idea in mind around like a 2022 season. That's just how I think. I usually start big and I have to reel myself in. And I thought, well, I need to launch a beta test in 2021 to see if this concept hits home for other people like it does for me and for a small group of people that I ran it by. And so that's what October is all about. And October is a 3-part, 3-week series where there's one workout each calendar week. So like you mentioned, we kicked off week 1, which is the week we're currently in, on October 4th, Monday. And it expires, or it ends, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, October 10th. And then the same thing happens the 11th through the 17th, the 18th through the 24th. But as I was building out this framework, the mission of the Zelos Games is really 2 parts. one, to create more earning potential for athletes, but two, to create more entertainment for fans. Because I want this to be a community thing, because at the heart of CrossFit, it's built off community first, I would say. And so there's something to be won for everybody in the Zelos Games as it stands. And what I mean by that is, yes, there's top 10 cash prizes for the elite level athletes for each individual workout. And then there's a top 10 cash prize for the overall if you choose to do all three. And then there's 30 raffle prizes. And this is where the sponsors really come in and did a great job supporting the Zelos Games and the mission. There's anywhere from a $3,000 home gym to a $100 Fit Aid gift card, right? And if you're a realist, you know that this is the first week of a brand new competition. So the likelihood of winning this raffle is better right now than it ever will be. And then last but not least, just for registering, it's $19.99 to sign up to throw down. And you're going to get discounts from Fit Aid, True Grit Fitness, Mayhem Athlete. You're going to get discounts from the Toe Spacer, right? Like all the sponsors chipped in to provide something for the registrants, because I knew building this thing, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are like, I'm not an elite level athlete. What's in it for me? And it's like, well, that shouldn't be the mindset, because if that was the mindset every day, all the time, nobody would come to CrossFit at all. They wouldn't put in the work, right? Like
Sure.
The Susie soccer moms and they wouldn't show up. And so it's like, it's not always about winning money. This should be a community thing. And that's why I built out sort of this reward system for getting involved. And each workout, especially the first one, is, I would say, relatively inclusive when it comes to skills. We didn't want to throw an abstract test out on the first series. Now, I do want to get really interesting long term, but the first workout this week is deadlifts and wall walks, and just short of contraindications and particular injuries, anyone can do a form of deadlift and wall walk. And we launched a scale division, which is quote unquote scale accordingly, which basically means I didn't create this long list of all these ways you can scale. Like if you've got a weak deadlift, just do lighter deadlifts. If you've got one leg, do what you would normally do. So it's scale accordingly, because the scale division can't win top 10 cash prize. They're still eligible for registration and raffle prizes. And I wanted this to be a community-based thing and very inclusive. So that's kind of the logistics behind the entire competition.
Nice. If we can hop, I kind of want to hop. Do you have anything more on the Zelos Games right now, Christian? I was curious about this self-help journal and like other things that you have your hand in, Jared.
When is the next one going to be, if you have a projected date for that?
So I'm hoping for January, but that's really based on, so what I want to do after October series is a bunch of surveys, and most people will roll their eyes at surveys, but this is kind of why I built out the October series, is so we can get information and feedback from all the contestants and say, like, what does a good season of online competing look like to you? And Christian, I would love your feedback, but I would also love the average everyday 3-4 time a weeker CrossFitter, and so
the average Joe.
The average Joe.
No pun intended.
And so I don't know for sure. Obviously, the Open, I think, kicks off early February. So possibly a January series, but like the first 3 weeks of January. So that gives people time to transition into the Open. So I was thinking like a first 3 weeks of January.
Cool. All right. I'll do one more question. So as a fellow entrepreneur, I'm curious, like, strategy wise, because I'm sure due to Christian and due to Move Fast Lift Heavy being a brand, and we talk about building that and building a business, I think some of our listeners would be interested on your theories or your strategy on how you're going to set yourself apart from the other competitions. You kind of just got into it a bit about like matching dates and making sure you're not overlapping, but there's other stuff out there. What did you have in mind that you thought would set you apart, if you haven't already touched upon it?
Yeah, a few things. Well, one, if we want to compare to in-person competition, the Zelos Games is far more convenient and affordable to take part in. So there's that. And then as far as like virtual competitions, there's a reward for the Zelos Games. And we do know the open like gets you into the next phase, so that's a reward in and of itself. But there's not any cash or consolation prize, especially for the general population who doesn't advance. And so that's our value proposition in that area. And then, one of the things, as I built out the business plan, I wanted it to be set apart, and I want this to be very supportive of our sponsors, and like all ships rise with the tide, right? And so like I don't have any particular like I'm loyal to the CrossFit community, right? But like, for example, we work with Mayhem Athlete and Underdogs Athletics. I don't really want the Zelos Games at any point to like back itself into a corner and be like with one particular brand. I want this to be something for everybody, because if it was one programmer all the time, everyone would think that it's like belongs to that programmer. And same thing with
those are programs you just mentioned, those two things.
Those are programmers.
I was lost for a second. I was like, he keeps bringing these things. I don't know what this Jared guy's talking about. No,
you'd have to check out the website.
I'm just teasing. Well, yeah. Speaking of that, next year, shoot us a text. We'd love to be on that 2022 roster of sponsors.
Yeah, and that's why I like the idea of doing these short series, because we can, like I said, all ships rise with the tide. We can try to give opportunity for exposure to different people, and different brands and different sponsors and things like that. But the second part of the Zelos Games mission, entertainment for the fans, that's, I think, the unique thing. And I was really inspired by the Rogue Invitational last year. It was online because it had to be, but they did a really great job of transitioning. Now, I know the athletes didn't love it because they couldn't have like a audience and they couldn't have music. So I would want to flex in a different direction there. But what we're working on building out is a suite of media entertainment to watch throwdowns. And so this past Monday we filmed live at the CrossFit Culmination in Las Vegas with Daniel Brandon, Carrie Pierce, Bethany Shadburn went head to head, and then following that we had Alex Kazan, who's young, incredible athlete, and Allison Scuds go head to head, and then we had Matt DeLugos and Raphael. I don't remember Raf's last name. But it was a lot of fun, and that's what I want to provide, because I think as a fan of CrossFit, we're not given enough entertainment, and to truly build this out to be a sport like every other sport, to have regularly televised entertainment for the fans is kind of the next step in building that out, right?
I'm glad we got to this because of everything that we've spoken about so far. I would say that element alone would be the biggest selling point, is just the streaming, the media, the performance aspect of it, because that's so true that we don't have nearly enough opportunity to watch these athletes do what they do. So that right there itself would be a huge advantage. So looking forward to tapping in on that. Where could people watch that? Do you have a YouTube channel, or how did you stream that last throwdown on Monday or whenever it was?
Yeah, the Zelos Games on YouTube. So go subscribe, check that out. We've got those 3 throwdowns on there. This Friday, we've got Bailey Rail doing 0.1 live, I think 3 p.m. There's more information on our Instagram. And I think Sunday, we've got Fee Sagavi going live, I think 3 p.m. Again, we'll have more information on the Instagram. And then next week, we've got Alexis Raptis and Dallin Pepper going head to head. We've got Tyler Christoffel doing a solo. The following week, I believe we've got Christian Harris and Christine Best. And who else do you got jumping in with you, Christian?
Brittany Morella.
Brittany Morella, right? So we're trying to bring consistent entertainment to the fans, because, and this might just be me, right? Like if this thing fails, I'll find out that I'm the only one that's passionate about watching CrossFit, but I'm a huge fan of exercise, and I like to watch competitive exercise. Long before I started doing CrossFit, I was still watching it. Like even when I was a bodybuilder, like when the games was on television back in the day, I loved it. Like I don't want to say as much as football, because I've always been blessed to like a good team, but I like CrossFit almost as much as football. If I didn't have a good team, I would like to watch CrossFit more.
Who's your squad?
Who's this good team you're talking about?
You're gonna hate me, but you're definitely
Cowboys.
If you're from New York, but
Cowboys.
No, try again.
Patriots.
Brady pretty much is the answer. Yeah, so it's unique, right? So follow me here for a second. My mom and that side of the family is from New England. And so I've been a Patriots fan my whole life, as far as I've been able to remember liking football. But I'm from Lakeland, Florida. So everybody's a Bucs fan. And so when Brady transitioned, I was like, this is easy for me. Like, no sweat off my back to transition. So,
all right. We won't hold it against you.
That's okay. I expect it, but I got to go to a Super Bowl last year, and that was incredible. And now all my friends that I grew up with that hated on me are forced to be Brady fans. And that's the best thing for me. Because for the past 20 years, it's been like, Brady sucks. Like, he's not.
Well, he's actually, as far as a personal brand goes, now that he's been in Tampa, he had that epic season. He brings Gronk down. They win. He gets smashed on the boat celebrating. There's these things that are happening where his persona to the nation is starting to change, and people actually are like, oh, I guess I actually like this guy. Like, this guy's cool. Like, I don't hate him as much as I thought I hated him.
Yeah. It's like Giselle finally let him be himself or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Or Belichick.
Or Belichick.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we can go on forever about that kind of stuff, but
so like I was saying, if I didn't have that team, then I think I would like to watch CrossFit more than football.
Sure. Yeah, me as well. Let's get into you're an author. We just had a comment from YouTube about this self-help journal. Christian's really excited to talk about it. He threw his mic down just now. Tell us, that's super, inspirational to me, because it's like I work with a lot of people throughout my whole tenure of my career. And I'm like, I should put this stuff in writing. And sometimes you have that imposter syndrome of like, who am I to put this in writing and try to like put something out there? So that's super cool that you put yourself out there and made the leap. Talk to us about that. What made you want to put anything down and try to get it published? And then just what those actual books or self-help things, whatever it was that you did put out. Give us a little background on that.
So when I was a kid, I've always been a reader, like super book nerd, even though I was kind of a wild child. And when I was very young, I struggled a lot. Like, I was always in trouble and thinking, like, I was like 9 thinking about the meaning of life. And I want to be like, if I'm being honest, I want to be remembered. Right. And so as a kid, I was like, well, how does that happen? How does someone make sure they're remembered when they're gone? And I read this quote by Benjamin Franklin, and it says, basically, I'll paraphrase it a little. If you want to be remembered, either write things worth reading or do things worth writing about. And I don't know that I've necessarily done anything too impressive that people will write about. So I was like, well, I'm probably going to have to write a book, like worth reading. And a couple years back, I started writing a book called Taming the Lion. And it's sort of a book about the life of an entrepreneur, like the dark side of that life. But I struggled like you because I never really got great grades in literature and English. Like, I was very C grade kind of guy when it comes to writing. So I don't have a lot of confidence there. But, throughout my journey of entrepreneurship and starting companies and running them, I've done a lot of blogs and podcasts and stuff. And so as I was writing this other book, I took a pause because I sort of wasn't super confident in producing that particular book. And I wrote this other blog that was called 6 Ways to Never Stop Growing. And it ended up being like this 10,000 word blog. It was way too long to like put on my small blog website or to post on Instagram, And I thought, what if I made this my first book? Because I left a lot out. And so that's how I ended up writing the self-help book, 6 Practical Ways to Never Stop Growing, based off a blog. So I revisited that blog. I doubled it down. I knew I didn't want it to be more than really 100 pages. I wanted it to be a practical workbook or manual approach to strengthening yourself, right? Like, and I was like, what should I call this book? And I Googled it, and there was no book called the self-help book. So I was like, I'm super pragmatic. I've got a podcast called the Business and Leadership Podcast. It's like, I'm just going to give people what they want.
This is great. It's great for Googling. When people Google these easy catchphrases, you're going to pop up. You're going to pop up there.
And I thought that too, right? So the self-help book was basically content that I collected and and distributed over time on like the process that I've gone through of helping myself, right? Of like, I mean, the 6 things are confidence, competence, clarity, commitment, connections, and character. And so there's a ton of practical steps to strengthening your confidence. And that talks a lot about negative self-talk and how to transition into positive self-talk, but being realistic at the same time, right? Because there's a lot of self-help gurus out there that are like, just look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're going to take over the world today. And it's like, that's not practical to me. But there's a healthy approach to building your confidence in that way. And so same thing with like connections, for example. A lot of people, maybe introverts, have a hard time making connections. And so this book goes into all these ways that you can practically approach these things and accomplish them on your own. You can revisit the book yearly. It's such a short read. I mean, you can sit down and read it in 3 hours. Each chapter starts with an inspirational quote that's relevant to competence or confidence or character or clarity. So I read it myself like once every 6 months, because even though I wrote the book, I still struggle with confidence. I struggle with character, right? Like I'm not Jesus. So like I make mistakes, and I sometimes I'm like, man, I need to read my own book again. So
that's awesome.
It is awesome. It's kind of funny. I have a therapist, full transparency, and the other day she was like, Jared, when was the last time you read your book? And I was like, thanks a lot.
That's all they needed to say, right?
Yeah. That's like, Joe, just in case you ever decide to write a book, remember that people are going to hold you accountable to the things that you say in your book, FYI.
Sure. Yeah. Once you put it down in writing, it's there.
But yeah, and then, as I was writing the book, or as I was going through the publishing process, I'm big on journaling. Like I journal every day. I have since I was a kid. I had one of those little journals with like a lock and a key.
There you go.
The lock and the key didn't work very well though. But anyway, so like I journal every day. I journal gratitude, devotionals, goals, to-do lists. And so I built a journal around the self-help book because there's a lot of practical questions in there. And so one doesn't necessarily have to go with the other. Like I use the journal every day without reading the book, and I can read the book without the journal, but I figured it would just help. And so created the journal, put it on Amazon. It's called the Self-Help Journal. And I really like it. I use it every day.
Cool, man. Nice. Thanks for saying you talked to your therapist too. I have a therapist as well. I think that, as we continue to grow as a culture and society, we need to continue to press to make that as normalized as possible, because speaking it out and getting it out is a lot better than keeping it in. So thanks for saying that.
Absolutely. And I'll double down on that for a second, because it's much more common in 2021 than it was in 2018 or 2010 or 1970. But it's like, it's still a little taboo, but it's like, imagine if going to the doctor for a cold was taboo, like, or seeing a trainer because you don't know how to get fit is taboo. Like mental health is far more important than your sinuses or your biceps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's what drives every decision we make, every action, it's everything. And so I think every person should have some form of therapy. You don't need it every week or every month. I mean, it's relative to your self-awareness and your consciousness. But like, just like with a trainer, some people need one 3 times a week. Some people are good with a virtual one that they talk to once a month. It just depends on your needs. But I think it should be totally normal. Therapist, because your friends and your spouse should not be held responsible for your unstable brain.
Yeah. Having the outside perspective of a person that doesn't actually know you or have skin in the game is very helpful.
Yeah, and they're a pro. Sure. They're educated.
Right. It's hopefully not. God bless your family that's willing to listen and try to give input, but at the end of the day, their advice might be twisted.
It's true.
All right. As we wrap this up, actually, I'm in Miami. I'm in Florida as well right now, Jared, about to go catch a flight. But as we wrap this up, Christian, you have any last thing? Are you going to put Jared on the hot seat?
Yeah, he's got to get on the hot seat. Everybody gets on the hot seat.
Everyone's on the hot seat here. Jared, good luck, man. You're going on the hot seat.
Okay.
Don't worry, man. It's quick. Just gonna ask you a few questions. You're gonna tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Pretty simple. Right. It's only a few.
All right.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I think.
All right.
Yeah,
Would you rather move fast or lift heavy?
lift heavy.
Coffee or pre-workout?
Coffee.
Current favorite sneaker?
The Noble Trainer, I guess is what it's called. Basic
Okay.
Noble shoe.
Favorite brunch food?
It's got Holland dog sauce on it. Whatever.
Benedict.
Benedict. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I never order that, but it's the first thing that came to mind.
If you had to choose one exercise for the rest of your life,
This is so funny. Because I thought bench press, but I don't even bench press anymore. It would be clean, squat clean for sure.
squat clean?
Yeah.
I respect it. Give us an idea of what your current playlist looks like.
I'm the worst. I'm not cool at all when it comes to playlists. So,
Listen,
okay.
be you. Be you.
But I will. It just doesn't get updated very often. But it's got the newest thing on there is probably MGK's emo stuff. But it's got old school MGK. It's got NF. It's got Under Oath. Hopes Fall. It's got like Slipknot in there. I mean, I got some heavy rock. I got some Drake. I got AC/DC. I mean, it's pretty.
That sounds pretty extensive.
Yeah, like it's Interpol. It's got a little bit of worship music, like that random worship music song when I need it the most. You know, like at the end of a 40-minute imam. Like,
Yeah.
Comes on, I'm like, praise you. Thank you.
That's all I got for you, man.
Sweet.
All right, you're off the hot seat. I'm pretty eclectic as well with my music playlist. Everyone probably is dreading it when I come in there because it's like started from the bottom by Drake, goes into As I Am from Bieber, goes into like Zach Brown Band, goes into Kanye, goes into Creed. Can you take me higher? Like it's all over. There's no settling in with me. Like
you got
you're
me
like,
at Creed, bro.
yeah.
Listen, that's why you have different playlists for your different moods.
No,
Yeah.
I'm insane. I guess
Just
I'm
throw it all
bipolar.
in.
I'm bipolar. It's like it's a tornado in my brain, bro. It's a tornado. So one song after the other, you never know what's coming up.
Yeah, I don't even play mine because I'm so insecure about it. I love it, but I'm like, nah, like Brooke's good at that stuff. I'm gonna let her play her music. Like,
She likes some ratchet shit.
She puts on some super ratchet stuff. And it's like a bunch of girls training there most of the time too. I'm like, I feel I need to get out of here.
You're starting to blush. Yeah. All right, man. Jared, appreciate you coming on to the pod. Everyone that's listening, we'll have a lot of those details, websites, YouTubes, Instagrams, all in the description of this episode. So you can get to learn more about Jared and follow along with the many things that he has going on. Check out the Zelos Games. And that'll do it for today. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for your time, Jared.
All right, there it was. Another one. Episode 17. I actually think it's episode 18. I think I skipped over our talk from last week as far as putting numbers down on the graphics when we're talking about scary hours. But man, scary hours, a lot of I won't say upset people, but like the drop was a success and people were like, oh, I missed it. I missed it. So
I got a lot of disgruntled texts about that purple tie-dye.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
In what way? Do you care to disclose?
Just like, in 30 minutes it's sold out already? Sick.
Yeah. I'm telling you. Yeah, we've been better. We're going to get better on Instagram by setting those countdowns so that everyone can like have an alarm on their phone to remind them like, yo, jump on that website and get that gear.
Listen, Mondays at 9 a.m., you know what time it is.
You know what time it is. All right, bro. Well, another good one. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Safe travels.
Later. All right. There it was. Episode, I don't know, 17 or 18. We haven't decided still. But thanks to Jared for being on. Thanks for tuning into Move Fast Lift Heavy podcast. Again, if you want to check us out, movefastlift.com to check out our online training, to check out our apparel, rep with us, train with us. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Joe Roscoe, signing off.
My name is Christian Harris. I'm a CrossFit athlete, coach, trainer, and founder of Move Fast Lift Heavy. MFLH has always been more than just apparel. It's a way to train, it's a lifestyle to live, and now we've leveled up that mantra by creating our online training platform. Move Fast Lift Heavy now provides personal online programming. The programming can be done either in a gym, with a garage gym setup, or even from the comfort of your own home with a dumbbell or even at body weight. This isn't just your typical workout block. You'll have unlimited access to our coaching staff to ask questions and submit technique videos. MFLH has always been more than just an apparel line. Now you can be a part of the team. Click the link to get started, and let's get to work.